recipe, creamy carrot rice, is that it has the same consistency of risotto without having to buy a special variety of rice. In this pan, I'm going to put a tablespoon of butter and half of an onion that's been finely diced. And I'm going to start building my layers of this risotto by adding the butter and the onion. And over here I have 14.5-ounce can of low-sodium chicken broth, a cup of fresh or store-bought carrot juice, and 2 cups of water. And this is always going to be at a nice simmer, just to the point where when I add it to the rice, it's going to maintain that heat. I don't want it to bring down the heat of the rice. Now this is just about ready. You can see that the onion is translucent. I'm going to add my rice. And I want to coat all of those grains with the butter. And you can see that the rice has started to turn that pearly white. And this is a cup of long grain rice. Instead of using a Borio, this is something that you're more likely to have in your pantry. And I'm just going to add a splash, about a 1/4 cup of white wine. And you can hear that sizzle. And that's exactly what you want to hear when you're making risotto. And you can see how it cleans the bottom of the pan. And this is the point where you want to season it with salt and pepper. Just give that a good stir until it's all absorbed. And you want to make sure that that liquid is completely gone before you add the addition of the stock. And the same goes for the rest of the recipe. You always want to make sure that your liquid is absorbed before you add more. That's going to keep the rice al dente all the way through this meal. Even though it's going to have a very creamy consistency, it'll always have a nice little bite to it. And again, my stock is always going to be at a simmer, and you always want to hear that sizzle when you add your additions of stock or liquid, whatever that liquid may be. And give it a quick stir again. And this total cooking time should be between 20 and 30 minutes. It sounds like a big differential, but you have to remember that everybody's stoves are different. And you can see how it's boiling rapidly. And almost all of the liquid is gone. Then that's a great indication that it's time to add more broth. We're adding about a 1/2 cup at a time. And again, you want to hear that sizzle every time you add that addition of broth, until all of the broth is used up. So if I was having guests for dinner, I would cook it 3/4 of the way through, just cover it with a little bit of the broth and set it aside. And then when I'm ready to serve it, I would just bring it back onto the heat and gradually add the rest of the broth. This will come back to the same creamy consistency that we're looking for. This could make an excellent side dish as is, or you can add some protein, such as this cooked shrimp, and it'll make a complete meal. And you want to add this towards the end because you don't want to overcook that shrimp. And we're just going to finish it off with another ladle of broth. Okay, and then we're just going to finish it off the heat, just to give it a little bit more richness and to add to that creaminess. About another tablespoon of butter, 1/3 of a cup of Parmesan cheese, and you can see how this gives a sheen to this rice. And that's it. You don't want it to be too tight. And if it gets a little bit tight on you at this stage, you can still add even just another 1/4 ladle or a 1/2 ladle of broth. And that's just about it. Bring a plate. I can easily get 4 portions out of this.